Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Faith Podcast.
Welcome to the best podcast on planet Earth. This is the Authentic Faith Podcast. Hi, my name is Brad Lawson, and I'm taking over as the host today. I'm hit and miss, but when I come in, I grab the mic from Mariah, my co-host.
That's great.
Yeah, no, we're just having fun. Today, I'm hosting because we have a huge group. So if you're watching this on video, I want to give a disclaimer on this. We don't have enough mics for everybody. So we're going to be sharing mics. We're going to be shifting. We're going to be trying to do our best to honor each other and not talk over one another. However, it is what it is. And so we're just going to have fun today. We do have a lot to talk about today. It's been a wild season of a podcast. This is our second season, and I think Mariah and the team have done an absolutely awesome job. Right?
This is the first season.
No, this is second. First was the Origin.
Oh, yeah.
First was Origin.
Okay.
Yeah, first was Origin, and you need to talk into your mic, I think.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, so first was Origin, and we talked about the origin of our church. Then we thought, okay, we need to make this official because everybody liked having a different platform. It's not a better platform. It's not like a more relevant thing. We're not trying to, it's just a different platform to talk about other subjects that we don't get into on Sundays or whatever, and also just to kind of communicate with our people and create space for more conversation. So we started this. And Mariah and I started, and then you took over hosting a bunch of great conversations, and I thought it was awesome. And we've had John, we've had Clover, we've had so many. I don't want to get into the list. We've had just a ton. And now we're here, and this episode is titled, It's Been Real, because we're done.
But we're not done. We have another season. This is just being dramatic for this season, okay?
No, we're not done. We're going to take like a 6-week break, a 6 to 8 week break for summer, just so we can go. We have a bunch of camps happening at the church. We have back to school coming. We have some outreaches. We have a worship night. And so we are going to breathe. The good part about leading a community that focuses on spiritual health and personal health is that we don't feel the need to perform for anyone. So we're like, hey, let's take a 6-week break, realign, and we'll hit this again in September. So it's all good. No stress, no striving. We're just going to keep the conversation going in September. And so this will be the last episode of season 2, which is really season 1 of the Authentic Faith Podcast. We'll open this up again for another season in early fall, end of summer. So that's what we'll say. So early fall, end of summer, you can look for it to come back, and we're going to keep the conversation going. So I'm going to introduce my people. So we got John.
What's up?
He doesn't say a whole lot unless he's on a stage preaching.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Like,
only when I got the mic.
He's got the mic. Sometimes he just stares at you. You're like, I don't know what he's thinking right now. Like, he just like looks. He's got this look. And you don't know if it's like, I could do this better than you, or like if it's like a,
wow.
I've got an opinion. Like,
this is almost like I don't know if this is a shot fired or if this is a compliment.
No, I'm saying like he's looking at me and I'm like, I don't know what's in John's head right now. Like,
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Depends on the conversation, to be honest with you.
I kind of like the mysterious of it. Like, I feel like I need to carry this. I want to stay mysterious. You look at me, don't know what I'm thinking. I'm about that life, for sure.
You are. And I will say this, that John, you are a powerful, powerful Bible teacher, and you are a strong leader for our youth. And so your input is always valuable, so you can always speak out. But for whatever reason, he just...
Thank you.
He's more of like a, I'm going to watch how this turns out. And then if you guys crash the ship, I'm going to come and tell you why.
That's so true.
I feel like it's a little bit more of like, hey, I see you guys driving the ship.
Did you almost cuss on the
No.
podcast?
I was going, when you're describing my thought processing face, I was going to use an acronym that involves maybe a word. Well, might as well just say, right? Like the
rhymes with rich.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is like I have like an RBF. Is that what you're saying?
RBF.
I don't.
Please do not Google that. If there's children out there, do not Google that.
Authentic
Our youth
Faith
pastor did not
Podcast.
mean to drop that.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm on the ship with you guys wherever we go, no matter what.
Okay, so you're going down with the ship. You're just going to kind of sit back and let us drown. And so we got John. You know Mariah really well. Mariah has been involved in nearly every episode except the couple that we did with the dudes. And Mariah, you've done amazing. So thank you for this. And this, I'm not going to keep going. So listen, if you're on here, you're like, oh, wow, they're just going to do this big, long goodbye. That's not what this is. We're going to talk about something. I do want to introduce the people at the table, and then we're going to get into it. So to move through it quickly, Mariah, thank you. You've done an amazing job. And Clover, there's nobody we've missed more in the history of our church than the 2 weeks that she was gone. Clover took off.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. She took off. Where'd you go, Clover?
I was in Europe.
What'd you do in Europe?
I was traveling with one of my best friends. We went to France, Italy, and Greece, and it was the most incredible time ever.
Yes. Well, so are you happy to be back? Do you wish you were still on the road? What aspects of it are you missing?
If I'm being completely honest, I thought I was going to be so ready to come home by the end of it. I was like, it was a long time to be traveling. But I was thriving on just like the adventure of it. I wasn't ready to come home. But now that I'm here and now that I'm with my people, I'm like, this is like the best to come back to.
It feels good.
It feels good.
Yeah, the tribe. That's amazing. Well, we're happy you're back. And for those of you who don't know who this lady is next to me, she is new on our team. This is Sierra Perry, and she is joining our youth team. And so this summer, she's moving from Malibu to Ventura. And so she's going to pour into our young people with John. We're trying to build a team, and we believe she's called. Her and I had a conversation, and the way that I work with ministry, it's, we had talked about how to raise up a leader several weeks ago, and I felt the chemistry instantly with her, where I was thinking, oh, she's our people, right? She came through our people. It was not really like we didn't do a staff searching strategy or any of that. It was, okay, so who's called? And people began to talk about Sierra. And I said, okay, I'd like to meet her. And so I sat down with her, and she was just an amazing, outstanding young lady. And then we got into the next aspect. So it's like chemistry, which I could feel pretty quick. She was supposed to be here. Then it was calling, and I asked, why do you want to do this? Like what's going on in you? And so Sierra, this is a good segue, because the question I was going to ask you guys is, why are you in ministry? And so Sierra, why are you here?
Yeah. Wow, this is a huge question, but a really sweet one. Actually, 2 weeks ago.
You can speak in your mic too. There you go.
2 weeks ago, I hit the 5-year marker of the day that I came home from my first ministry internship, the church I grew up in, and I sat down with my parents, and I was like, I feel called to ministry. I think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And the Lord, sure, as he always does, made a way, and I stayed at Pepperdine, kept finishing up my master's in religion and ministry studies, and have been feeling like I wanted to jump into full-time ministry, but wasn't sure what that was going to look like, and met John, I guess in January, December, around then. My friend moved up here, and we had some really awesome conversations, and felt like the Lord was like, this is the time. We're ready for you to do this, and to do the thing that you've been called to do, and to love people the way that I've crafted you to do that. So I am beyond stoked to get to be here. It is such a blessing, and my soul is like so on fire right now, because I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
That's cool.
Yeah, feeling more in step with the Spirit as I've come along this journey, and the Lord's made a way.
It's beautiful. When you, and I could speak for myself, I was working with my grandpa before I went into full-time ministry, and I was leading youth, and kind of in the position John's in, and I did that for several years. And I was leading ministries, but still had a full-time job in the world, and I was out, and I was kind of in this in-between place. And I remember when it all aligned, and I began to see like, oh, no, this is what I'm doing. And like I made that decision. it's a dying process. It's a surrendering process to get in. And a lot of people, they try as hard as they can to knock on the doors of whatever it may be to fulfill themselves. And then what I find is most people who are called to ministry, you can't talk them out of it. Right. They're hungry for it and you can't talk them out of it. So if they want it, they're going to go after it. Right. Yeah. And part of the reason why I personally allow that process to happen is because it's hard. It's hard. There's days where I walk away and I go, why in the world would I want to do this for a living? Like, why would I want to rip my soul out to just have people shred it with their opinions every week? Why do I want to stand between life and death with people? And I know that's not the case. We know people have access to God. I'm not in the middle, but somehow as a pastor on a pulpit with a Bible where you're standing as a representing Jesus in the scriptures, like you're put in a position where the Bible says not many should become teachers because you're held to stricter judgment. So it's like, and Jesus actually said, if you're ashamed of me and my words, that I'll be ashamed of you in heaven. Right? And then he says, if anyone in Revelation that says adds or takes away from the word, then then I will actually take things away from you. And you're like, what in the world? Like, this is a lot of responsibility. So it's a very holy journey. You can't go and just, some churches do that. Some churches go through staff planning agencies and, they get help. We personally haven't done that. God has sent supernaturally our leaders into the ministry. John walked right into the ministry. You walked right out of Bethel into the ministry. Clover walked right into the ministry. And there was a journey for all of you. Sierra has walked right into the ministry. And it has to be holy for me in order for it to be sustainable. So yes, it's a big deal. So that's my question. Why are any of you doing this?
Go for it, Mariah.
I guess we'll hop around. So I believe that all of life is ministry. So I am like a rebel, I guess, in this way. We all know, know that.
Stop. I'll never let you put me in a box. Like that's
you're not. I'm a rebel.
No, listen. I get what you're saying. I
like how he thinks I'm putting him in a box by saying who I am.
We went through this the other day when you told me you had to start your own podcast to talk about things we couldn't talk about here. Yeah. So anyway. So
what I'm
all
saying
of life is ministry. That doesn't separate what I'm saying. Because
no.
there's not like a hierarchy.
Oh my gosh. You can't compare.
Okay, go.
You don't need to be put down because what I'm saying from my life.
So say it. So break it down. Go.
We don't do that. Okay,
go.
I'm saying for me, I've had so many random jobs. I work at a salon at a reception desk. I worked at Home Depot and Dunn Edwards. Like what? Like, I feel like I was called to ministry at a young age, like right when I became a Christian, but I didn't use those words. Like I just think it's all part of it. But I don't know. I mean, I had a passion to like love people well, and specifically it was the deaf at that time, and then it transferred to hearing people too. But at our church, I don't really care what it is. I just want to pour into people. So it doesn't really matter to me. Right now I'm with kids ministry, and I feel a call in my life to do that right now. And it feels like I have a heart for them for sure. I have vision for them. I see.
So you believe there's an anointing for specific offices in the church, though, right? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, and that because I understand like that because I agree with you 100%. I think you and I totally align on this.
Yeah.
Like, and just breaking into the conversation for the podcast, like getting into ministry, we're all in ministry.
Right.
You're full-time ministry.
Everyone
the moment
is,
you're baptized.
no matter what they're doing.
The moment you're baptized, you're in full-time ministry. There is language in the Bible that talks about teaching and preaching the scriptures in a different capacity.
Yeah. The prophetic and
in a different capacity. And in the fivefold ministry, obviously there's evangelists, there's prophets, there's apostles, there's pastors, there's teachers. Like there's anointings for specific functions within the body, right?
Right.
And so like in that function, you could teach at Starbucks. Or
right.
You could teach
exactly.
whatever, 100%.
The church is all over.
But for whatever reason, there is a special anointing for what happens within the body in the house as we corporately gather, sometimes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like I fit in a lot of different places wherever God's saying. I I have a heart for people outside the church and in the church. So I don't know. I'm like, whatever you want, God, I'm there.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Mariah does Adopt-A-Block. I mean, seeing you at Laundry Love.
It's hard when you have lots of passions and you're like, I don't want to pick one,
you're all over
you
the
know?
place. So at
But trying to
Laundry
be
Love, I see
consistent.
her. She's probably one of, if not the most effective outreach leaders on our second Saturday serve. It's unreal. And then also, for those who don't know, she is an on-fire worshiper. When Mariah's in the room, the presence of God just falls. When you and Matt Reeby did that worship set the other day that was just stripped down, it was just all Jesus. There was something special released in that. And I think you're a big part of the next, whatever it is that God does with our worship. And
So my view, I mean, I'm not trying, when I say this, I'm not trying to like elevate myself. I'm saying when we worship the King of Kings, you're going to be passionate. You're
Yes.
going to worship a different way. You're not going to be just sitting there like, yeah, good song, guys. Even if you don't like the song, you're worshiping the King with your words and your body and your life. So like, why are you holding back? Like, when you're in front of him, one day you're not going to hold back. So why hold back now? Is my view. Like, just fun.
do you think people hold back because they don't really see him as he is? Like, what would be the reason? Why do people hold back?
I don't know. I mean, they're probably hurting. Like, they need ministry. They need like encounters with him, insecurity, looking at other people around them. If we're talking about music and singing in church, like it's probably just like so many things I can't say. I mean, but I feel like in worship that gets stripped off. So like when they step out and literally take a step out, it shifts something in that, like
So if
your
people could-
risk taking.
For sure. And if you think about it, in heaven, are you worried about how you appear?
Of course not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right? Like you've died
shake
to
it
self.
off.
You've died to self. When you're in heaven, all eyes are on the Lord.
Yeah.
So whether you fall on your face, you're dancing in worship, like John had said before, like whatever it may be, you're just in his presence and you don't care.
Yeah, I think that's my heart, is to see kids and adults step into freedom and worship and out of.
I think I asked you that one time, how to summarize your ministry, and you said to help people to step into freedom. That's amazing. Yeah, it's super good. And you do that. I mean, honestly, your voice is super, super powerful in our church. Let's hear from this section.
Yeah.
Why are you guys doing this? So you talked about how you got in, but let's talk through, like with both of you, why? What keeps you in? What's your why?
Oh, so not like how, but
You could say both. I don't care.
all right. Well, I was just thinking about this, so it's. I'm like, you changed the question on me.
She's had some time to like prep her answer, communicate effectively.
No, I was just thinking about it. It's funny because so I remember like being a little girl and actually like telling my mom that I wanted to like be a preacher.
Did you really?
I've never.
Shut up! I have never heard
Have I
that.
not told you guys that?
I heard
I think
that.
I told Shanna that. Yeah. But it's fun. Like I remember thinking that like as like a really young girl, like I wanted to like preach. And then life had
I've never heard
a
this either.
communicator.
life had a lot of twists and turns. And I kind of like my faith journey had a lot of twists and turns. And so, you know, I graduated high school and I kind of like fell out of my faith, and I was trying to figure out like my place in the world and what that looked like. And I always had a heart for people. And so like if you asked me what I wanted to do, it always was just like I want to help people. I wanted to be a nurse. I spent some time volunteering abroad, and I just feel like I could never fully like find like what it was. You know, like nothing quite like did it for me.
Yeah.
And then
We're paying attention. For those watching online, we're just doing video text stuff. Go.
yeah, I just feel like nothing quite like satisfied. Like there was something in like my heart and my soul that like wasn't being satisfied. And then, you know, like 3 or so years ago, kind of stepping back into my faith, it felt not even so much like working in ministry, like vocational ministry wasn't like a conscious decision. I was never like, I want to be in ministry, but it was like a lot of small like yeses, and I feel like a lot of just like little moments of like obedience to God that kind of got me here. But now that I'm like in this role, it's like being a part of a ministry that like touches so many people. I feel like all of these like things that God kind of placed in my heart are being like unlocked. and it just feels like I never in a million years would have seen myself here, but I could not imagine not being a part of this ministry now. And I also feel like I'm still in a place where I'm like letting, I don't know, like I'm letting God kind of like help like grow my vision for it. And I don't know, like I just feel like there's so much more to come, and this is kind of just the beginning. But
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
You are just scratching the surface. That is powerful.
Wow.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
I remember when John told me, he said, hey, this girl Clover is going to come to church and she has a calling for leadership on her life. It was really,
That did happen.
yeah, no, he said she has, I think she has, I saw her, I guess you did your public speaking
Yep.
thing at the college or whatever, and at Channel Islands University, and he said she has leadership on her life. And I said, well, I'm going to explore that and see. And so we went to coffee, and it was just,
Weren't you an intern at
so,
first or something?
So yeah, it's funny. Me and John, we had a public speaking class. I don't remember what communication class it was. And this was like before I was a believer. And John ended up bringing me to church. And that's kind of like where it all started. But yeah.
that is so cool.
So funny to like think back on just like all of the steps of like how we got here, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think you saying that you wanted to be a preacher as a little girl, that throws me, because we had this
She's got something to say.
Mika, one of our women's leaders, I would say, who also probably is a pastor, a pastor. So Mika, if you're listening, that's what I think. She did like a discipleship weekend, and remember we came to pray over you too. It was just
That's
very
right.
small, very intentional. But that night, as I was praying over Clover, this doesn't happen to me. I mean, people like Jemmy Prudhomme and others and Mariah, they see lots of things. I talk to people who are like working the prophetic, and they there's lots of visions and pictures and dreams. I don't get that a lot personally. Most of my stuff is rooted in the Word and the presence of Jesus and the Holy Spirit. That's it. However, Clover, I was praying over her, and I opened my eyes, and I saw this sword go right out of her mouth. It was like this sharp sword, and it shocked me, because like in the middle of the prayer, I go, whoa, I just saw like a sharp sword just come from your mouth. So that actually really,
That was 2 years ago? What was that? Like, last
That was a year ago. Yeah.
But that's interesting for me,
Yeah.
because I had no clue. That's why I'm blown away about you saying you wanted to be a preacher when you were a little girl. That is wild. Oh my gosh. So yeah, amazing. I love this so much. Okay, so what's your why? Like why?
Yeah.
So your journey with us just began, but you've been in ministry for a long time.
Yeah.
And so tell us why are you doing this?
I guess, I mean, the biggest thing for me, I'm going to touch on worship like you guys did a second ago, and it'll tie into where I'm going with this, but I see worship as full, utter surrender and adoration of the Lord, which is an expression of fearless love. So
That's what's up.
if that's what worship is, if that's what I want my life to be, is ministry not the best expression of fearless love and everything? So yeah, why do I do this? Because when I felt called to this, I think was probably the day that I also fully believed that I am fully loved and that there's nothing that I can do that can take that away, that can give that to me more. And I stopped striving. And I think
That's
the
so
world is
good.
just constantly striving for things to feel like they have to earn love or to feel like they have to earn respect from other people. And they're just tired. And I just want people to have a safe place to rest and to know that they're loved and that they should come
A
home.
safe place to
and that
rest.
they can stop running. Like that's, the race is over. Like it's already been won.
Whoa, come on.
Yeah.
That is so good, Sierra. I love that. You have such a gentle way about you. And when I know you took my daughter and another friend out the other day, and you're so good with the girls, like, and with the boys too. And I think you just have a powerful presence about you with the youth. It's really, really cool. And I know you spoke the other day with the youth, and John texted me. He said, she did amazing. Like, he like built you up a lot. So we're proud of you. We're thankful for you.
Thanks.
Have you, I don't know how to even ask this question because it doesn't really, not just you, it's for the group. So you guys can anyone can answer, speak on it. Like there's a heavy cost associated with ministry.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, a heavy cost. Maybe what is some, from your experience, what is the cost that you've had to pay? And have you already determined within yourself what costs you will pay? Like at what point do you check out? Like, you know what I mean? Not like quit your job or go to a different church. I'm saying check out from calling. You know what I mean? Where you say like, because it's not owned by any one church. It's a kingdom thing. It's not owned by any one position, because there's many things that are going to happen throughout the course of your ministry, if you're called to ministry. But if you counted the cost, number one, what have you paid so far? And then what are you willing to pay? Anyone, go. Boom.
All right, I'll hop in. Super big question, right? Man, so say it one more time.
Have you counted the cost of ministry? What have you paid, and what are you willing to pay?
So I'll start with the what have I paid. Ministry it's a responsibility. You're stepping into a responsibility. So on one end, yes, there's the total truth of that life is full-time ministry. And that is so true. When you are a Christian and you're walking every day, your life is full-time ministry.
For sure.
But when you begin to now step into a position of spiritual leadership, there is a cost. And there is a difference between life being full-time ministry and now spiritual leadership saying yes and stepping into that. A lot of that has to do with your actions, with your behaviors, your thoughts, your communication. So for me, when we talk about what have you paid, I would say right in the beginning, a lot of my dreams in the very beginning of what I thought I wanted to do in my life at 2021, just I'm going to go do this, then I'm going to go do that. But as the Lord starts to pull on my heart, I start to realize I have to begin to say no to this door because I have to say yes to the door the Lord's opening up.
Dreams have died.
There's definitely been dreams have died.
We talked about that.
So good.
We talked about that.
So good.
Old dreams have died. And before I get into like maybe testimonies around new dreams, old dreams have died. I will say relationships, that's a big one. Like even romantic relationships is a big one as well, where you're in a relationship and the Lord calls you out of it, especially if you're going to step into ministry where it's like, hey, the lukewarmness of your relationship is not going to exist if you want to go where I'm taking you.
Yeah, like
And
so
that's
when you
So good.
because I'm the elder in the group, like when you're young and you before you know Jesus, and then all of a sudden you give your life to God, and then you go maybe have sex with somebody and you're like, whoa, this is convicting. That doesn't, sure, like I have an instinct and attraction there, but that's a heavy cost. I don't want to hurt like that anymore. And then you make a mistake again or whatever, and you're like, whoa, I can't do it. Why is there conviction there that never existed before?
Yeah.
And there's something that happens there in relationships where that's why you see a lot of relationships. It's super simple. When people come to Christ, they're like, oh, I'm having relationship problems. Well, duh. You've got the Holy Spirit living in you who is convicting the world.
Yeah.
So duh. Like, you're like, why can I not enjoy things the way I used to? Well, duh.
Yeah, so good.
And I think with relationships, because I want to get into some of the friendships as well, like that's the cost. But even with romantic relationships, that I think when I've talked to Christians, especially that maybe younger believers or people that are younger in their faith, that's like the number one thing that'll hold them back and stop
From
them
their
from
faith,
stepping
yes.
into everything God has for them. Because it is once you start mixing all your emotions, and
But the lie of that is
Exactly.
that it's bad. It's not bad. It's
Right.
just designed for a specific purpose.
Exactly.
So sex is not bad.
Right.
It's not bad. I was like, amen. No, it is not bad. It's designed for a specific purpose.
Right.
And so some people, they build it up. Like I used to think in my high school years, because I think I knew that God was real, even if I was a proclaimed atheist, but I would always think I couldn't become a Christian until I was ready to die.
Right.
Because there's so much life to live.
Right.
Right. And so you're so afraid to commit because you're like, I want to go to Vegas. I want to do this. I want to travel. I want to go out and live my life. Right. And so you don't commit because you've got too much of this self-centered lust and just longing for like adventure or whatever. But the reality is that God actually put that stuff in you, and he's calling you to adventure in him.
Totally
He's
agree.
calling you into covenant with a person with him. He's calling you into all this. And now I can say, with Shanna, I am married to my best friend romantically, and we have a great adventure together. And it's not based around like who can give me whatever. We're friends first and we love each other, and it's different, but it's so much better. There was not, I think about my worst day today. I would not trade for my best day in the world when I was out there alone with false intimacy, because intimacy is more than that. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, so that's on the relational side, but the cost with friends.
Yeah, totally. And then hopping into we could probably talk about that all day. We
This
could have
could have
a whole
separate
podcast on
on
that,
this.
because
This
that
could be a whole
is
separate
big when it
podcast.
comes to relationships. But then friends, my closest friends, my best friends, the ones
Yeah.
that I have been in multiple fist fights, with, against, the whole thing. I got your back, loyalty, the whole thing. You become a Christian, and those relationships, because you're so close, you have, I don't want to say have to, but let the Lord will move the way he moves. But for me, it was a cost to let those relationships go.
Yep.
Where now, after 8 years, some of those relationships are starting to spring back up. I'm way more solid in my foundation and my identity. But there was a season where for a few years, I just knew that I couldn't go hang out with them on Friday night. I knew I couldn't go here, go there. So that was a big cost as well. So there's a cost to stepping into your faith, but I think there's even more of a cost when you begin to step into spiritual leadership.
Yes.
And I will say that as much of it is a cost, it is also, for those that are called and those that are chosen, it is the greatest fulfillment you're ever going to have. Yeah. So kind of going back to your original question, just really quick on why are you in ministry? I know some people get really fired up about salvation and people giving their life to Christ. I don't know if there's more fulfillment for me than watching somebody grow in Christ. Watching someone give their life and then grow and mature in the faith is like, it's like the best thing ever.
So
it's like,
good.
I will give up anything and everything to watch one person do that. So there's a lot. There's a lot. And just to wrap my segment up really quick, talking about the cost, like what will you pay? I think it's hard to say, I will definitely do this, because if you start saying I will do this, the Lord will put you in that situation and you go find out real quick. But what I will say is
that's
that
a great point, because Peter said that. He goes, I'll go to the cross for you. I'll die
Yeah.
for you. He goes, you'll deny me
Yeah.
whenever I hear the cock crow 3 times.
yeah,
I won't find you.
100%. And
That's super good. That's a
but
good point.
what I do know about my heart, and I do know about my faith and all that I've experienced in the 8 years that I've been a Christian, I will say that I'm going to worship God and I'm going to do what he tells me to do no matter what. And that's just black and white. No matter what I got to give up, no matter what I got to go, what job I got to lose, it's all Jesus, no matter what.
100%. I love that, John. That is so good. And just opening it up again, and what we say is like, when you're born again, you become a new creation. We know this biblically, right? So you're a new creature. You're completely new nature, the whole thing. So when a bird and a fish fall in love, where do they live? Right? Like they can't. Like one's gonna drown or one's gonna suffocate, right? And so you have to be born again to come into relationship with somebody. I mean, and you'll see like you're surrounded by believers a lot. Because we're breathing the same air, right?
Yeah.
Like we're functioning with the same nature now. We've been born into the same kingdom, you know. So, what cost have you guys paid? Let's open it up as we.
I just have a
into
small
it, yeah.
thing. I guess it's the first thing I thought of was when I was on a bus in Querétaro, Mexico, and I was sitting there, and I remember my crush at the time was in the States, he was in the States, and I was like, why, Jesus? Why am I here in Mexico? Like, why couldn't I have another life why did I have to be called here? And I felt like so frustrated. I think I shed a tear. Like, seriously, all the people I could have been dating, and I could have probably been like married. I didn't really care about marriage that much, but I was like interested in finding out. And I was so frustrated on this bus, just like, seriously? But it was the same frustration, like Jeremiah was saying, like, and Jeremiah talks about, Jeremiah talks about the fire shut up in his bones. Like, he's so frustrated because he can't turn back. He's like, I cannot, like, he's just like crying out to the Lord and just not able to go any other way. Like,
That's so good.
I am like, what does he say? I can't remember the exact verse, but he basically says like, it's like a fire shut up in my bones. Like, there's no turning back now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I was in that tension of like, so frustrated that I'm here, but also that I don't want to be anywhere else. And like, this is what I'm called to. And I wasn't like once I felt that, I was over it. But that was just one time of many that I was like, I could be doing. Who know? I was like 21, so who knows where I could have been. But then, over and over, I think
I see people who, when they in another fear, along with the relational stuff and the romantic stuff and the other stuff that we had talked about, it's like when you walk through one door, you close another, right? And so people stand in this place where there's a fork in the road, and especially your generation, there's a perpetual fork in the road for everybody. Nobody knows what they want. They stand in the middle of two places, and what happens is you lose years and years and years on your life because you stand in between. You're never fully where God's calling you to be, but you're never fully where you want to be. You're somewhere in this middle ground. And I will see it takes sometimes a decade for people to snap out of it, where you say, no, I know who I am. I know who I'm called to be. I have peace with it. I'm actually happy about it. I've learned to delight myself in the Lord, and He's giving me the desires of my heart because I have a changed heart.
I think there's sometimes a morning though that you have to go through to be that stoked.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like, you know what? I'm gonna cry about this. I'm gonna feel and grieve that, hey, like, I spent 5 years in Mexico. I could have been in school or whatever, like, but not seeing it as a sad thing, but like, whoa, all the experience I got, and like grieve what you need to grieve and then move on and like trust Him.
But all that prepared you for what you're doing now.
Yeah.
You see it all come back now. Even your work with the deaf and your Spanish and all that you bring to this community.
Yeah.
We're located on the west side.
Yeah.
But those outside of the west side, super dense Latino population and underserved, underreached people.
For sure.
You're able to be super effective over here.
Yeah. I mean, he works everything out for good.
Yep.
So,
I think, like, similar to both of you guys, it's like everything is an exchange, you're always giving one thing for another. So it's like, there's dreams that were laid down, there's relationships that were, also laid down, but it's like Jesus came to give you life and life abundantly. So it's like everything you're laying down, like you can guarantee that like what He's going to give back to you, it's probably not going to look like maybe like what you thought it was going to look like or what, but it's always going to be better. It's like you're giving up a relationship for peace, You're giving up like the partying or that one kind of more self-centered dream for like deep fulfillment and community and intimacy and like all of these beautiful things. But even deeper than that, I think like, I don't know, it's just like God is so worthy of like, even if He wasn't going to give you back something greater, it's like He's still worthy. And I think like when you have that like knowledge in your heart, it makes it easier to give things up, even though like our flesh is always against us. It's like a constant like relearning that, like you're always having to like, I mean, for me, I can speak for myself. It's like every time there's always like a new level of like, oh gosh, like I have to surrender this. But it's like I don't know. And I feel like you always like encounter God like in a deeper level every time you have to like go through that process. But a song that was just
that's so good. I feel like that's the point.
Have you guys heard that song? Yeah, so right. Good. I know, and that's like what builds like intimacy with the Lord. But I keep thinking of, have you guys heard that song? I think it's Upper Room. It's a newer one. It's like You Remain, I think. It might not be Upper Room. There's a line that just keeps getting me. And she says, when I see your face, I'll wish I'd given more away. And I'm like, ooh, that's like kind of convicting because you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to see your face someday. And like all of these things that are important to me are not going to be important. Like all of these things that I feel like I'm sacrificing, whether it's like the relationship or like that one dream, it's like that is literally not even going to be a thought in my head when I'm like looking at God, when I'm looking at Jesus.
So good.
Yeah.
It's like I'd give up more.
Yeah.
So good.
It's like,
All
I
right.
wish I could, yeah.
Sierra, as we start to land the plane.
Yeah. What have I lost? As I've been sitting here listening to you guys speak, I realized I'm having a hard time with that concept because I feel like it's not been a loss, but it's been gains.
Let's go.
Like, yes, there's a grieving that happens, but
Let's go.
that's healthy. And so
Exactly.
we're supposed to grieve, but if we're grieving a good loss, it means that it's like heaven facing, right? And so it's like going into eternity well.
That is so good.
So I feel like I have lost things, but it's been the death of the right things and the resurrection of the things that needed to be.
Let's go.
Yeah, I really wanted so bad to change the world. Since I've been a little girl, my parents were like, okay, like have fun in Africa or like whatever you do. Like the amount of elementary school teachers that were like, all right, well, we'll never see you again. Bye. And that just didn't happen. I have put myself across the world multiple times in my life. And every single time God's been like, yeah, so it's not your job, Sierra.
Whoa.
You don't get to change the world. You have to let me do that. But what I need you to do is I need you to go home and love the people at home. And that's how you're going to change it.
So good.
So I think that's been a huge loss. And I still I think I still go through a process of grieving that because I see the world and I'm like, but I just love it so much. And he's like, okay, keep loving it. And I love it too. And but it's not your role. So
Whoa.
You're full
That
of
is,
golden nuggets.
that is, dude. So I
this is
just need
all
to
I
say,
have
like, this group, this table, you're so deep and so connected to what God is doing in your personal life. It's an honor to be at the table with you. It's an honor to be at ministry with you. And I could not imagine having a better group of people in our church, like leading our young people. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart, that's sincere. Like I couldn't, if I was to go dream up a group of people to go take the city with, it'd be you guys. So thank you.
We love each other so much.
There's so
We have
much love
matching
coming from
bracelets.
this ministry, and I think like this is going to sound super intense to people who don't know me. And even those that do, I realize it's very intense. But like for me, Sunday, I was broke during worship. There was something, but it was just something happening within me. But there was just a point where like, I needed something to break within me. And when I get to that place, because you absorb so much in ministry,
Yeah.
like so much information and so many decisions and so much sacrifice. There's so much just like standing in the gap for people, and just it's very intense, and you absorb a lot of that and you carry that. And so a few times a year, I always have to take it and like have a surrendering moment. And Sunday for me was kind of it. In worship, I just began to break, and I was weeping during worship. So I told Matt and Landon, I said, worship was on fire Sunday for me personally. I was having a moment.
That's awesome.
But I think when I get stressed, I go maybe with like towards the end of what Clover said, it's like I think about the day I am going to die a lot. And I know that's super intense for a lot of people. I rehearse it. I think about what I'm going to say. I think about what he's going to look like. I think about what's going to matter in my life. It's like I've reverse engineered my life. And so for me, I could get into what has the Holy Spirit said, and prophetically, how do I know I'm supposed to be in ministry here and there and all this? I could get into that. But for me, it's like I have this intense reality that I face every day that like I look at my life and I'm 40 years old and I go, if I make it 20 years, I'm lucky. I'm going to see Jesus very, very soon. And it's like, I can't, and I grieve for older people. So now we're younger, but like speaking for an older generation, I don't understand how you can come towards the end of your life and not feel the presence of heaven coming, like knocking on the door, like, because I sense it right now. And I have this inner, like,
That needs to happen.
I don't know what it is, where I know, like I sense the day I'm going to die soon. Like, not like I'm not prophesying my death. I'm saying like, hopefully I make it 90 years. Yeah. Hopefully I make it 90 years. I'm
Just
saying
see
that like
him.
90 years is going to go like this.
Yeah.
And I sense eternity so heavy in my spirit right now
It's your legacy.
that I look at it and I go, it's all garbage, like the Apostle Paul said. It's all garbage, because I look at it and I go, he is all that matters. Everything you could do, you could be the most educated and wealthy person on the planet. You stand in front of the Lord, you're going to worship him.
We've been talking a lot about that.
I know, and I look at him, and this is my drive is almost like a reverse engineering for inspiration, because I go, I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna see you one day. It's me and you.
Yeah.
And what I
Changes
see partially now, I'll then see face to face. I'm gonna see heaven. All this is gonna matter, and that fear of the Lord, in that sense, really pushes me to say like, every day matters. Every conversation matters. Why do I say raw things when I get on a microphone? Because I don't want to be a speaker that people can turn off because the truth is too important. Why do I put so much intensity into ministry discipleship with leaders? Because I do not want to stand in front of the Lord and say, hey, I gave them partial truths. I walked them into a lukewarm relationship with the Lord. I can't do that. I cannot lead a lukewarm generation. If people choose after sensing what I'm releasing to say, I'm going to go and I'm going to give it half my heart, that's you.
Yeah.
That's just not me. Do you know what I'm saying? And so like, I dial down that intensity in relationships, but the core of who I am in my secret place, in my prayer closet is I am visibly rehearsing for the day I'm going to see Jesus Christ in the flesh. Maybe not in the flesh, but in the spirit body. Whatever he is, I'm going to see him on the throne glorified. And I wait for that day and I long for that day. And that's what inspires me for ministry.
Yeah. And I just want to add to that really quick as well, as you're saying that. I couldn't agree more with the thought of seeing Jesus and being completely ready to die. And what I mean by that is how I treat every day. I'm not saying I want to die by any means. I don't. I got a lot of adventure, a lot of things I want to do. But I have fully come to grips with, like, if I were to die today, I'm good. If I were to die tomorrow, I'm good. Like, I am fully, quote unquote, ready to die. I've had conversations with my friends where we talk about success and you talk about cost. And at the beginning of my relationship with Jesus, I thought I was giving up what success was. But I can tell you now is I honestly do not feel that I will be any more successful in my life than what I already am.
Yep.
I will achieve more. I will do more. I will have my heart fulfilled, my desires fulfilled and more. But when it comes to success, I can say I pursued Jesus with my whole heart and I gave it out to people with everything I have following my purpose. 100%. And there's nothing more. So it's like live in your purpose, just come after Jesus and we're moving.
John, that was fire right there. Thank you guys. You are amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me hijack the host. It's really Mariah's idea. The whole podcast, she's the brains behind it. She's the spiritual leadership behind it. So she pushes it. And we're going to come back again. So we're going to take like a 6-week break. We may redo the set. We're not sure. We may come back to the same table. We don't know. We'll see what we want to do. We're just going to get creative. We're going to drink some coffee. We're going to go to some youth camps. We're going to have a rad worship night if you're in Ventura on July 29th, Friday night. We are going to continue seeing Jesus made known in every space because we are all called to ministry. And then for those of you who do feel like you want to be a pastor or be in or work for a church and vocational ministry or whatever, I'm going to talk you out of it because there's a heavy cost associated with it.
That's good.
And if I can talk you out of it, you're probably not called. So God bless you guys. I hope you have an amazing summer. Enjoy your July. And maybe you guys just say bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it's been real.